Greetings, YouTube. So, one of the things that anti-trans folks will do in the modern times, is to try to control the language being discussed. One of the tactics they've been using lately is trying to convince people that the terms cis, as in short for cisgender, and the term TERF, trans-exclusive radical feminists, are slurs. But they're not. They're descriptives. Cisgender and transgender are simply ways of explaining that some people align with the gender they were assigned with at birth, and some people don't. Some people were assigned a masculine gender at birth, and they grow up and they feel masculine, so they are cisgender. And some people are assigned a masculine gender at birth, and they don't align with that assignment, and so they are non-binary, or they are polybinary, or they are transgender because they align as feminine, or as both, or as nothing. But trans is the category they tend to fall into because they aren't cisgender. They don't align with the gender they were assigned with at birth. And there are people who will bitch and moan at you and say, well, those are made-up words. You are correct. They are made-up words. Newsflash, Sparky. All words are made up. Words were not handed down to us by the fabric of the cosmos. They are not in the molecules of our bodies. They are made up. And the people that made up cis and trans, I believe, were the Romans. So if you want to bitch at somebody about talking about those particular terms, bitch at the Romans. Good luck with that. As far as TERF is, it's a description. It's like SWERF, sex worker exclusive radical feminist. When people who say that sex workers have no place in modern feminism, well, TERFs say that trans women have no place in modern feminism. And that's bullshit on both accounts. Anyone can identify as a feminist, and anyone can choose to come forward and say, hey, you know something? I'm a woman because I identify as a woman. Doesn't matter if you think that they're a woman. Doesn't matter if their appearance coincides with how you think the appearance of a woman should be. Just that they identify as a woman. And so those terms are descriptive. Cis, which baffled me completely how cis can be considered a slur. Because that would also mean, wouldn't trans also be a slur then? And trans isn't a slur. People identify as trans all the time. I identify as cis all the time. It's like trying to say that heterosexual and homosexual slurs. Those are descriptives. Now I understand that under certain contexts that the homosexual has been used with negative connotations. And that's what matters, the context. And the bigots are trying to control the language, which is kind of ironic because they are constantly talking about the fact that progressives are trying to control the language, trying to make them say things like trans women are women or trans men are men. That's horrible. And yet they're trying to do things like convince the world that cis and TERF are slurs. And the reason they're doing this is if they can convince the media that those words are slurs, then progressives and trans people who want to have a conversation, who use those terms, cis and TERF, will be shouted down. Oh, you can't use those are slurs. So now you're silencing the people who most need to speak. The minority community of transgender people. And that's the goal of the bigots. So they convince the media that cis and TERF are slurs, then they get to control the political discussion. They get to control the public square when it comes to just talking about transgender people. And they're handicapping the transgender community from discussing the very thing who they are. The TERFs are TERFs. TERFs are bigots. And it's not a slur to call a bigot a bigot. It'd be like trying to convince people that the word racist is a slur. It's not. It's a descriptive. And if you don't want people calling you racist, don't be racist. And if you don't want somebody to call you a TERF, don't be a TERF. It's really that simple. And if you identify with the gender you were assigned with at birth, you are cisgender. And if you don't, you are transgender or non-binary or pan-binary or however you want to describe it, man. Gender is a big old blob, man. It isn't even a spectrum. It's just this big old blob of stuff. And how somebody else identifies has no effect on your life. And before I hear the folks say, well, what if men dress in women's clothing and they go into bathrooms and they try to attack women? Well, then your problem isn't with trans people, trans women. Your problem was with predatory men. Don't bitch at the trans women. Don't hold them responsible for predatory men. Bitch at the predatory men. We have laws that will govern this situation. They already exist. They're on the books. Not that it stops predatory men from being predatory, but the fact is, those laws are already in existence. We don't need new bathroom bills. We already have laws that cover things like sexual assault. Leave the trans people alone. Let them be. And let them keep using the terms cis and trans and TERF. Because those are important terms. They're key to the discussion of discussing themselves. So why am I, a cis dude, talking about this? Because some people will listen because I'm a cis dude talking about this. They won't listen to a trans person talking about this. So it's my duty, in my attempt to be an ally, to talk about this, to keep hammering it home until the cis folks relax and realize that the trans people just want to live. They just want to be left alone to live their lives as who they are. Just like you. They want the same civil liberties and human rights that you enjoy as a cisgender person. And they want to be able to keep using the language that lets them discuss themselves in the public forums and continue to use the words cis and TERF because they're important. And to all the TERFs out there, to all the bullshit biological essentialists, this is for you because this is what you deserve. You're full of shit, and your attempt to control language is full of shit. So, fuck y'all.